We use that. That's the time. Oh, okay.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's 6 o'clock, and we're going to get started. As we open up, this is a posted meeting of the school board. Right now we have only 3 board members, but we most likely will get the 4th one, and the 4th will just walk in. So we have a quorum. And so I'm going to call Ms. Ostagina, our board president, so she can open up this board meeting, and then we'll start with the presentation.
Good evening. Time is 6:02 p.m. and I'm opening up the community budget review, and today's date is May 23rd, 2018. Thank you.
Thank you, Josephine. Well, first of all, let me start by thanking the community parents for being here. Some of you attended our first meeting that we had a couple of weeks ago at Shepherd, and we'll have another one next week at Zamora. I believe it's the 29th. But before I start with this budget presentation, I want to talk about something else just very, very quickly. It's something that's very, very important. What happened last Friday in Santa Fe, Texas, is something that's, I know, concerning to not only that community, but concerning to us as well, you as parents. There's nothing more important to a parent than to say to their children. And I want to simply tell you that the district takes this very seriously. This week I've appointed a small group of school staff headed by Mr. Gary Long, who's an assistant principal at the high school. I've authorized Mr. Long to, within the next 2 or 3 weeks, to walk every facility in this district, every school, and within 3 weeks give me some recommendations as to what needs to occur to make our buildings a bit safer. Right now, we're not knowing what those recommendations will be. I don't know to what extent we can make some of those changes between now and the start of the school year, but we're going to do our very best to improve the facility situation. I want teachers to be able to lock their doors immediately. I want principals to be able to block off areas of the schools, wings, and so forth. We hope that we would never have a situation like what happened last week in Santa Fe, but we can't just wait and see what happens. We need to take active steps to make sure that our facilities are safe, that our children are safe. But I wanted to share that with you because it's something that we have started, and we hope to see some improvement before the start of the school year. I want to talk to you a little bit about the financial situations in the school district. It's challenges that not only South San, but quite frankly, a lot of school districts all over the state have been experiencing. I'm going to flip through some news clips real fast to give you an idea of how other districts besides South San are dealing with this. I mean, it's something that's affecting all of these districts. Judson, I'm not sure what district that is, LaPorte, Cy-Fair ISD, Houston ISD, Friendswood ISD, McAllen ISD, Northeast ISD. This one is, I'm not sure which one that is. This is San Antonio ISD. Bushland, I don't even know where Bushland is, but they're having financial problems. San Antonio ISD, again San Antonio, Austin ISD, Northeast ISD, this is Floresville ISD, and this article talks about San Antonio, Northeast, and Judson. This last one is Klein, and so forth. The reason these school districts, along with South San, are having financial problems, the primary reason is that the state of Texas does not fund school districts at the level that they should. It'd be different if only South San or only 1 or 2 districts were experiencing these problems. We got the list of those news clips simply by Googling school finance deficiencies or budget problems or something like that, and those come up almost quickly. All of these news clips are from the last couple of months or so. And there's actually more, we just didn't want to put them all up there, but clearly a lot of districts in the state are having these challenges. What compounds the challenge for us here at South San is the fact that we also have dropped enrollment. In the school year 2013-14, our enrollment peaked at 10,014 students. That happened to be the year that I joined the district. I actually joined the district in December 23rd, 2013. So when I got here 4.5 years ago, the enrollment was 10,000 students. Our projection for next school year is 8,600. Now, you can tell from this year, we've been dropping maybe 100 students, maybe a couple hundred students, maybe another couple hundred, but then we dropped about 500 here, which was this last year, and we're projecting a drop of another 500 or so. What happened here is that the idea of charter schools opened up within our boundaries, and we lost a significant number of students to those schools. When they opened up here, they opened up 4 grade levels. They will open up, I believe, 2 or 3 grade levels next year, and 2 or 3 more the following year. We're projecting even more drop the following year. So what happens is, whenever enrollment drops, the revenue for the school system drops also. Last school year, when we were at 9,600 students, the enrollment dropped the revenue was 81 million. For next year, just 2 years later, we're projecting 71 million. A drop of $10 million just within 2 years, because that enrollment keeps dropping. That's a drop of 14% of the enrollment, of 14% of the operation of the school system. And what happens here on the lost enrollment, as you can tell, is we go from 9101 to 8600. The total projected a year ago, last summer, was 9369. So that's actually a drop of about 769 students from the projection itself. And for next year, again, we're projecting 8,600, the following year, 8,350. When that happens, for every student we lose that does not come back to South San, we're losing $7,605. When you multiply that number by the 1,400 or so that we've lost, and you add to the additional costs that we have for new programs, such as the opening of the middle school academies for next year, the enhancement of the Health Science Academy at the high school also for next year, we end up with a deficit of about 6.4 million. I've been asked in these type of meetings before, as we presented this information, if the district is having such challenges with finances, why are we opening new programs? And the reason we open new programs is this. We're losing enrollment to charter schools because parents are seeking other programs. Parents have the right to select whatever program is best for their child. And either we can sit back and allow them to keep walking to the next charter school, or we can attempt to keep our students and convince our parents that we offer those type of programs within the district. That's the reason we're opening up those middle school academies next year, and we're trying to enhance the high school health science program. The only school in South San that is not dropping enrollment, by the way, is the high school. The high school, when we were at 10,000 students 4.5 years ago, the high school had about 2,300 students. This year they peaked at about 2,600. The only school that has shown an increase. The majority, a lot of the programs that have been introduced in the district the last several years, early college academy, the one-on-one technology, the iPads and so forth, job certification through the CTE program, all of those are great programs at the high school. And our community recognizes that, so they keep their students at the high school. That's why we need to introduce new programs that the community wants at the middle school and at the elementary schools. For example, the academy for next year, the one here, which is a STEM academy here at Dwight, Zamora Middle School is going to be health science, and the Shepherd's going to be fine arts. Those are not necessarily topics or areas that we selected as a school system. We polled our parents. These were 5th grade parents. And we asked them, what are the type of academies, the type of programs that you want for your children? And who would believe that the biggest desire for a middle school academy was to come to Dwight Middle School? Not Zamora. If you've been here a long time, you know that the most popular school, middle school in this district has been Zamora Middle School. Today it's Dwight Middle School, believe it or not. We had by far more applicants for the Dwight Academy than we had for any of the other middle schools. And I'm not being critical of the other middle schools. I'm just saying to you that this demonstrates that when you provide programs that families want, they'll come. They'll stick with us. So, keeping in mind that I've said already that we have lost about 14% of our enrollment the last 4.5 years or so. We have to also reduce our operating costs. These are potential recommendations that I most likely will make to the school board between now and August to reduce our overhead, basically. We're not serving as many students. We need to cut back on the cost of operating the district. We're talking about 10 clerical positions, 10 professional administration positions, 8 out of the main custodial areas, 6 of the police officers, and I'll speak to that in a minute, and about 19 or 20 teacher positions. On the teacher positions, keeping in mind that we're projecting losing about 500 students. On a 25-to-1 ratio, that's 20 positions, that's 20 fewer teachers. We actually lost 500 students last year, from last year to this year, and we reduced by about that number also a year ago. Those reductions for teachers are all through attrition. We hire 40 to 45, sometimes even 50 new teachers every year when we start the school year. That means that we have openings to be able to reduce these positions through those vacancies. The 6 officer positions, as I started these remarks this evening, we talked about security. People would wonder, why would you reduce police officers if there's such an issue right now with the safety of students? The 6 officer positions are positions that are right now not assigned specifically to the schools. These are positions that are either involved in the administration or management of the police department, in some cases. In other cases, they are in the supervision or the oversight of our facilities at night or in the weekends. But none of those positions are within assignments at the schools. For example, the high school right now has 4 police officers assigned to it. There are 4 police officers. Actually, I think that number is one of the highest in Dare County, of high schools in Dare County. They will have 4 officers next year. These middle schools, including Dwight, each middle school has 2 police officers assigned this year. Next year, they'll have 2 police officers assigned as well. And we have 2 police officers that patrol the 9 elementary schools throughout the day. That's probably one area where we're going to make a change, and I intend to add another officer at the elementary level so that the elementaries are covered by 3 officers instead of 2 officers. And that will occur for next year. So as you can see, the reduction of police officers is not because we are removing police support at the school. We're simply downsizing the police department. I will also tell you that our police department right now is the largest police department of any school district in Dare County on a per student basis. So, you know, we have officers doing different things that are important. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying they're not important, but it does not jeopardize the safety of our students if we reduce these positions. So then the question is, what happens? You know, the previous slide showed that we were reducing about 2.9 million. And I also told you that we have a deficit of 6.4. Where does the difference come from? Well, the difference is going to come from one of 2 ways. We either increase revenue in the district, and we'll talk about that in a minute, or we continue to cut and reduce programs. If we have to go to the reduction of these programs, this impacts kids. These are good programs to provide good services to our families, to our students. CIS, 10 out of the 13 schools have a relationship with CIS, a very important program. After-school programs, all of our elementaries have after-school programs, important programs for our working parents. We have competitive teacher salaries today that we have not always had. If we want to keep good employees at all levels, not just teachers, but at all levels, our salary schedules need to be competitive with the surrounding districts. Or if not, they lead to higher paying school districts. That needs to continue. Our elementaries right now, we staff at 22 to 1. Some districts are looking at 24 to 1. We don't want to do that, but at some point we're going to have to close this gap. The additional revenue does not come in. We also have a learn to swim program for our elementary students at the second grade. We started 2 years ago. It's a good program. We want to be able to continue it. Our facilities need to be upgraded. We have 13 school buildings right now where we have operating schools, 13. And I believe 4 at the most are 15 years or newer. The high school is the newest facility. Zamora Middle School will be the next newest facility. Benavides Elementary will be the next, and then Carrillo Elementary will be the next. But once we stop there, the remaining 9 schools are very old facilities that are 30, 40, 50 or more years old. They need to be upgraded. Right now, in the budget process that we follow and we have followed for the last several years, we invest about $1 million to improve our facilities. Replace roofs, replace air conditioners, do those type of things. We need to do more of that. We need to be able to keep that money in the budget. So, if we don't want to cut some of these programs, or any program, whatever the program might be, it doesn't matter which the program is, what program is going to be selected, it's going to be a question of somehow we got to be able to close this $6.4 million gap. Right there in the middle of that star, that $1.04, is the tax rate, the M&O, maintenance and operation tax rate for South San. That's what we operate on, $1.04. We've been at that $1.04 since 2008. So we've been there about 10 years. Actually, I think it's 11 years. I think it was 07. But every district around us, Edgewood, San Antonio, Harlandale, Southside, Somerset, Southwest, they are all at $1.17. They all generate more revenue for educational programs. In 2007, 2008 or so, in that period of time, the state of Texas changed the funding formulas for school districts. South San, as well as most school districts in the state, the year before, which would have been about 06, 07, we were actually at $1.50. Most districts were at $1.50. And in the state of Texas, the legislation compressed the tax rate. It came down to $1. From $1.50, it came down to $1. And school boards at the time had the option to stay at $1 or increase up to $1.04. But if you go beyond $1.04, the school board alone no longer has the authority to do it by themselves. They must ask the voters to approve that tax rate beyond $1.04. Our school district has stayed at that $1.04 for that period of time. These other school districts, if you can tell, at different times, they moved on to the $1.17 to provide more resources and more educational programs for their kids. Harlandale, using them as an example, they went to the $1.17 in 2008, 10 years ago. Think about that. 10 years ago, Harlandale moved to that $1.17. We stayed at the $1.04. In those 10 years, Harlandale has raised an additional $80 million to service the educational programs for their kids. There's similar stories with a lot of these districts. They didn't all do it in 08. Actually, Edgewood did it a year earlier. And they raised whatever amount of money they raised and so forth. And the most recent one that I'm aware of is probably San Antonio, I think, that did it about a year ago. But South San is still at $1.04. And I think we have some catch up to do in commitment to our kids and provide better educational opportunities. So you might wonder, how does that impact you, the homeowner, the parents, and so forth? Well, the $6.4 million that is raised by increasing the tax rate to $1.17, 12.5% of that is actually provided by the homeowners that own homes within South San. The remaining 87.5% are provided by the business owners and the state of Texas. The biggest amount being the state of Texas. Actually, the state of Texas picks up about 2/3 of that, or 2/3 of the total amount. Homeowners, 12.5% of the difference is by the business owners over here on the right. So as you can tell, that 12.5% that we're talking about there is 800,000 out of the 6.4. The difference is 5.6 million. That's the amount that the state of Texas and the business property owners pick up on this. So yes, there is a tax rate increase to the homeowners, but it's somewhat minimal when you compare what is raised by that tax rate increase. The burden really falls over here on this side. So here we have the projection of cash flow. At the previous meeting, we were asked if we do a TRE election to go after taxpayers, will you approve this? You're not going to have this money in time for next year. And the answer is yes, we will have the money in time for next year. This is just, it's kind of hard to understand to some degree, but it gives you by month what the cash flow is for the school system. And as you can tell, this is the revenue that comes in from the local and state, and these are our expenditures. So here, we actually are raising more money than we're spending, and here's just the opposite. We're raising less money than what we're spending, but keep in mind, that amount gets saved up so it can carry us over here. In addition to that, there's about $20 million in fund balance, a savings account if you would, a rainy day fund that the school district maintains. So the effect of a TRE, if it passes, the money would flow to the school system immediately after the successful passing of that TRE, if that happens. So, as taxpayers, if you own a home in South San, if it's valued at $25,000 or so, or less, there's no tax rate increase. And that's primarily for the homestead exemption. If your home is worth about $50,000, the increase is about $2.71 a month. If the home is worth $75,000, your increase is about $5.42 a month. And if your home happens to be at $100,000 or so, your increase is a little over $8.13. Yes, it is an increase of taxes. There's no denying that. But it's somewhat minimal when you compare it to the value of a value meal or a, what do you call this thing? And a movie theater ticket, you know? I mean, it's an investment. But the question is, are you willing to invest in the education of kids? So, somebody might say, what if I rent a house? Well, if you rent a house, I can't control that. Your landlord controls that. If his taxes go up, will he increase your rent? I don't know. But his taxes are going to go up like this. You know, the home you rent from that landlord is $50,000. His taxes go up a little less than $3 a month. So will he increase your taxes by $3 a month? Maybe he will, maybe he won't. I just don't know. But if you happen to be in the Section 8 housing, there should be no rent increase, because rent increase is not determined by the expenses of the landlord. It's determined by your personal income. If your income goes up, your rent goes up. Not necessarily if the cost for the landlord goes up. And this one's important for individuals that are 65 or over. Anyone that's 65 or over, when you get to 65, your school taxes are frozen. There is no more increase for you. The school district, everybody else can approve a tax rate increase or not approve a tax rate increase. Yours stays frozen as long as you own that house moving forward. The reason this is important is, quite frankly, senior citizens actually vote at a more frequent rate than everybody else does. And that's important for them to know as well. So, we're going to go into some questions and so forth, comments. Let me give you the protocol. Here's the mic. Anyone's welcome to come to the mic, ask any question you want, make any comment you want about this presentation. There is a three minute limit. I think Mr. Zamora over here is the time timekeeper. When you have 1 minute left, he's gonna put up that number 1, so you got 1 minute, and then he'll start wrapping it up. Everybody will get a chance to speak at the conclusion, and we will respond to some of these questions that they're asked. At the conclusion, that will be it. We will not continue with the second round of questions. I will stay here, so will the staff. I will dismiss people that are in attendance after everyone has spoken at least once. And then if you have more input, again, we'll be here. You can continue to give us your input. So with that, let me kind of open up the mic to see who would like to address the district in any way. Anyone?
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Is this in relation to the clipboard signing? Or
No, just if you want to address the audience or
the
the
clipboard
district.
signing is separate?
I'm sorry?
The persons that sign the clipboard to speak is separate? Or are we to
Did
address
someone
them?
sign? Did we have a clipboard sign?
Yes, sir. That's not signing to speak?
No, just signing in. You're welcome to come to the mic. Anybody is welcome to come to the mic. 3 minutes is the limit.
When will we know when will we know if we are pursuing the TRE?
Okay, it's a good question. At the next board meeting, we have a board meeting actually scheduled for Wednesday, June the 6th. I intend at that meeting to recommend to the board that they set the tax rate at $1.17. If the board approves it, then the board will also have to call for an election so that the community can approve it. And that election in the community will occur sometime this summer. Could be July, could be August. I don't have an exact date for you at this point. Somebody else?
The programs that are on the, I think I speak loud enough.
No, here, let me get a mic. Everyone get a mic. So everybody can hear. Okay.
The programs that you continue to show on there, are those the only programs or is there more programs?
There's a lot of programs. I
Do
believe.
you all put like a list? I mean, it doesn't have to show the fancy,
You're talking about these programs.
those are always shown. Is there, what other
No.
programs, do y'all have like a list of programs that we can look through?
The answer is yes. There's a lot of pros in the district, and it's going to be a question of what we consider to be a program. You know.
Are those the most popular ones? Is that what you keep
Now,
showing?
these are some of the most expensive ones. That's what we keep showing these. Because to close the gap at 6.4 million, I can't cut a $200 program and get there. I'm going to have to cut programs that are costing hundreds of thousands of dollars, which is what these programs cost for the most part, or maybe even millions of dollars. That 22 to 1 versus 24 to 1 would be millions of dollars in savings. So that's what it is. Yeah.
Okay, but I understand that you're going to cut some of the officers. As to what's going on in here in the Texas and other places, I think that should not be cut.
Okay.
You know, I think we should add more. You know, there's 2,000 and some students. Two officers there?
At the high school is 4.
There are 4. And I know, like, for the teacher, there's one teacher for 24, 25 kids. And when you're getting 4 policemen for 2,000 and some, I don't think that's enough policemen there. Because there's fights, and then tell me there's no fights there.
There's fights in a lot of our schools.
Yeah, well, you know, especially at the high school, you know, I think we need more than just 4 policemen there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Somebody else?
You said that the TRE is going to be possibly July or August. When will staff find out?
Well,
Because I know it's based on the TRE,
well, not only staff,
Right.
community, everybody.
but the staff as far as jobs are concerned.
As far as the jobs are concerned, as far as teachers are concerned, our contract employees, we're past non-renewal time.
Right,
So
exactly.
that's not a problem.
So
The-
does that mean?
Now, let me just show you real quick. Some of these reductions, many of these are at-will positions, all right? Those most likely will occur sometime in June. To answer your question, when will staff know? If you happen to be one of these people, for example, when will people know
The at-will,
that are at-will or have administrative term contracts?
right.
Not teacher contract. Yeah. Matter of fact, these teacher positions are all through attrition. There's not going to be any reduction
You
of
don't see
teachers.
reductions, because that's something that you hate to have teachers waiting all summer long.
No, the teachers don't have to wait. Again, we're past the non-renewal for
Right,
teachers.
no, I understand that,
Okay.
but that's not something that you consider doing for free.
That is not in reference to teachers. That is
Not for
correct.
teachers,
No.
okay, that's what it's like, otherwise it's not.
Yeah,
Okay, right, thank you.
good question.
At previous meetings, you've said that whether the TRE passes or not, you're still going to eliminate.
Some of these, yes, that's a good question. Some of these reductions will need to occur simply because we need to downsize. We're a smaller district today than we were 4.5 years ago. We're serving 14% fewer students. We ought to have 14% fewer administrators, fewer clerical, and so forth. So some of these reductions will be recommended to the board as far as reductions. And again, the budget process is a fluid, dynamic process. We start talking about it as far back as February, and we don't make the final recommendation until August. And things change every time that we're developing this budget. Keeping in mind, it's a $71 million budget. Different things move in different directions. Things change. And so until that final recommendation comes in August, there's no way I can tell you for sure what exactly will get recommended. What I'm sharing with you is this is what we're thinking about at this time.
What is the outcome of the cafeteria ladies and men?
The outcome of I believe he's going, let me just answer this question. The outcome in reference to outsourcing that this we've been talking about, they received an email today from me letting them know that we have dropped that idea and that we're not moving forward with that.
Okay, you had mentioned about what's going on with Santa Fe, what went on
The what?
about the police officers.
Yes, sir.
The incident happened in Santa Fe, and we're looking at 6 police officers, getting rid of 6 police officers. Do you think it's really necessary? I mean, with this that's going on, do you think that you're still going to address this?
It's something that we're going to look at to answer your question. All right. I said earlier, these are not officers assigned to schools.
Correct.
So we will look at it. I have discussions with the chief on a regular basis in reference to this. We'll make the final decision, but for right now, it's still being considered.
Okay, and then another thing, it goes hand in hand with our people that need our, like, for instance, our counselors. It works hand in hand, counselors with students having problems, and of course their rise, and it goes hand in hand. I think you ought to reconsider those 2 areas as our counselors, so much as our officers, because we do need our officers.
There's no counselors being reduced centrally from the central office. Individual principals are empowered to make some decisions. If a principal recommends the reduction of the counselor on his or her campus, we'll follow that recommendation of that principal. But no one from central office, I believe this is correct, no one from central office is recommending the reduction of counselors.
Okay, although you say the principals we do need a counselor because it does start at an early age with kids having their...
I don't disagree with you, but I hire principals to run their schools, and we give them the authority to make those decisions.
Okay.
Somebody else? One question that was submitted is, how about high-paying employees freezing their raises? Just do their jobs, that's where we also will save money. The answer is yes. We can freeze pay raises or salaries of any group of employees and save some dollars, but you're not going to save $6.4 million. But the answer is yes, that's something that can be considered. Somebody else. Ms. Olvera, hold on, Sylvester. Come in. Let everyone, at the very end, you've been there 3 times. Ms. Hernandez. Okay, Ms. Hernandez.
You had asked the community to give ideas that we thought might help instead of, in lieu of all the cuts. And that you guys were wanting those kinds of information. And I was going to suggest, I thought about it for a long time to give positive, you know, I guess tips and suggestions, yeah. How about if we could develop some kind of a program, since we're developing all these other new programs, a program to utilize the students that we have, especially our high school students. I know back in the day when I was graduating in West Campus, we had a half-day program. There's a lot of students, once they get all their credits, they just go home and go to sleep. And sometimes we lose them and they don't want to graduate. I have a friend's son who went to work somewhere else and want to come back. If we utilize those students like the office girls, office guys, people who are taking that route, I mean, there's a lot of things they can do. And I know that we do have students in our schools, I've seen them. But I mean, there's a lot of administrative work, you know, sorting of the mail, things like that, that can take away some job duty. You know, if you're going to cut clerical, replace that work with some students during their hour. You know, there's the art students, they can help with other things. There's a lot of ways that we can help our school. We have a print group. You know, are we utilizing them to print our flyers, to print our business cards, you know, that stuff. So that's what I was going to say is, can we think inside of our box this time and try and utilize our students, and especially our seniors, so they're not going home and doing nothing. And maybe if they earn a little bit of money, I'm sure there's some kind of funding that could pay for that. And I know it's a lot cheaper than a full-time employee, so.
We'll look at that, I'll discuss it with some of our principals. Thank you. Somebody else?
Good to see you and everyone else. Good to see everyone here, the turnout in the community. I want to thank everyone for making such a great effort to embrace the needs of the community. One of my biggest concerns, and that I have been addressing in politics, so speaking to Commissioner, is on mental health illness. I see Ms. Daniels and the students. We've gotten a lot of good results, so it's just basically giving you a little update. And, you know, I've spoken to Mr. B, and one of my ideas is being that I'm an ex-educator myself and also work with the YMCA, certified so far is like with abuse, child abuse, and what have you, so on and so on. Will some of our counselors be, or maybe could be, you know, like extra training so far as like when it comes to mental illness? You know, with the recent shootings in San Jose, you know, everybody's saying, oh, the parents' fault, this fault, that fault. And I'm thinking like, you know, like the students were saying, you know, they need support right there in-house within the school. Being that when I was in training, just by observing a student, even adults, because I work for this city also, so I would just visualize and I could right away say, okay, this person is, you know, you could tell more or less, you know, who's suffering either from mental disability or what have you, because there's just the signs that you look for. Would you consider sending some of our counselors to training for mental illness? Something like that?
The answer is yes, but matter of fact, just an hour ago, I met with these students, Ms. Daniels. I was in her class. They had an individual from Blue Bonnet, I forget the name of it, Blue Bonnet something council. We talked about a partnership with that particular facility. We provide the space, they provide the service. So we've had that discussion just very briefly. We've not worked out any detail, but that's a possibility. We also have had discussions with another nonprofit that we have had partnerships in the past. Same type of thing. You bring us the services, we'll provide you the space, and provide service not only for our students, but quite frankly our community. You know, so we are looking at that. Nothing's been worked out. but it's not something that's gone away. It's something that we're gonna pursue further.
And just to bring you up to date, I spoke to Commissioner's office and stuff. I've been working on that. I haven't attended any of the meetings, but he's, very supportive and willing to work with also with us, with you and with the students. And with
We look forward to that.
Okay,
Thank
thanks.
you, thank you. Anybody else? I know the students have something. Nora, come in. That's right. Yes, ma'am.
I'm just gonna ask you one question.
Yes, ma'am.
You said if you're 65, it's gonna be.
If what now?
If I'm 65, I don't pay those 13 cents tax, right?
Your property taxes for the school district do not increase if you're 65 or older.
What about if we have like 1, 2, or 3 houses? Is it only on one
But
house?
it's only your homestead. It is only your homestead. On your rent property, which is a business, it does not
No,
apply.
I don't rent it.
Okay, all right. But you can only claim one homestead. Yeah. Good question. Students?
I just want to say first, thank you to the ladies who been presenting. Thank you. I wanted to speak about this woman. She brought up increasing
Get close to the mic over here.
She brought up increasing costs or keeping the number of costs the same. As new students who go to South San, I actually experienced what it's like to be a student there. I personally disagree with that recommendation. As opposed to getting more officers or having them do the same, I think we should have more social workers, more like therapists, more counselors. Yeah, because cops can't reduce crime. Obviously, we have lots of cops already, and no crime is being reduced. It's just the crime is just going to be stopped. What can be reduced is the fights is if we get therapy to those students who are causing the fights and the crime. So, yeah, I think we should have more social workers.
Sure.
Oh, basically, what everything that she said.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, this issue of violence in schools is something that all school districts in this country are looking at. The governor set up a committee, they just met yesterday, as a matter of fact, on that. No one has final answers, but one common thread that keeps come out over and over, many of these individuals that commit these acts have mental problems. And what these students are saying, we need to deal with that as opposed to simply react when it happens, and that's what you're saying, I think. Okay, thank you. Somebody else? Yes, sir.
For those in the audience that don't know who I am, I'm the protective corporal for the South San Francisco Police Department. I'm not going to give you my full resume. However, I'm a retired law enforcement officer in the Dallas, Texas area, and I'm also a special investigator for the United States government. And the information I'm going to provide you is coming firsthand from experience. First of all, I'm here because I care. Today's my birthday, which I can spend with my family. Thank you. My son is being honored academically at his middle school, but I'm here today to talk because I care about the community. Just a little known fact here is we have 2 officers within our department. They're tenured officers, and to me, they're heroes. They've continued in the line of duty. They've both been shot in the line of duty, and they're keeping their jobs here for South San to protect the community. To me, that speaks volumes. That's the kind of officers that you have within this department. We have, and by the way, I'm going to be one of the ones that's going to be cut. I'm going to get ahead of myself, but between the command staff, which the superintendent has addressed, is all that's going to be cut. There's a lieutenant, a sergeant, and a detective position that's going to be eliminated from the department. And I'm going to tell you right now that I process all the cases within the school district. And it's nearly impossible for one chief to do my job, the sergeant's job, and the lieutenant's job all together. Keeping non-oversight over the officers, and that's not disrespecting the officers, but there needs to be oversight. The leadership has to have oversight. You're going to have liability issues, false arrest, civil rights violations. You're not going to have coverage that you should or adequate supervision. The officers need it. So total, I can speak on and on about here recently, as early as Monday, the lieutenant and I, command staff, in conjunction with our department, responded to a teenager with a gun about 200 to 300 feet from the high school. I don't know if it was public information, if it was given on one of the news stations. We responded to make sure that all of the kids in this community were safe. As well as, I was investigating a terroristic threat within 10 minutes after that. Now, are you going to guarantee the South End community that someone's going to address an investigation of terroristic threat or respond? I will let you know, folks, it took SAPD 35 minutes to get there. If they're going to allow SAPD to handle this, you deserve better. I'm just going to let you know one last thing. Again, I'm here because I care. All my fellow co-workers would lay their life for anybody in this community because they care. The public servants, command staff doesn't deserve any less than that. Professionalism, ethics, integrity. That's the foundation of this department. God bless the community. I'm going to let you know right now that Dr. Saavedra, I hope that you can sleep at night knowing the South San community could be the next Houston area shooting. And we want to stand here to help the community. And we hope that you make the right decision.
Thank you. Let me correct one thing, and officer, if I'm wrong, you correct me, please. The incident you made reference to of an armed individual that our police department responded to a couple of days ago, it was reported that someone was out there, but it's my understanding that that individual was never identified or located. Is that correct?
That is correct. He was never located.
So, however, but I'm just asking because, see, whenever we tell our community there was an armed individual in the vicinity of one of our schools, our community panics. And we don't know that there was an armed individual in the vicinity of our schools because that individual was never located, was never arrested. The threat was lifted by SAPD within 1 hour.
With all due respect, our chief, we coordinated with the chief, command staff coordinated with the chief. We gave them the information, and that information was relayed to the high school for a lockout. If anybody's not familiar with lockouts, I just recently went through a training with an individual that trains officers for lockouts and lockdowns. So I'm certified to train staff, community, civilians, business owners, stakeholders. And to answer the question, maybe I'm reducing my minutes here.
You've already used up the minutes.
I'm a certified mental health instructor as well in the state of Texas. So you have that asset in our department that you didn't know about.
Thank you. All right.
In the presentation, you had mentioned mentioned that other school districts are experiencing budget issues.
Yes, ma'am.
And given that those districts had the tax rate increase, in what ways are you finding other solutions to target the budget? Because we're seeing that even regardless of the increase, there's still budget issues in the school district.
Correct. Of these districts that have gone up to $1.17, of the ones that are having challenges right now, if I look at this, besides South San at $1.04, the only other district that I'm aware of that has challenges is San Antonio ISD. All the other districts listed here, to my knowledge, are not having these issues. San Antonio ISD was the most recent approval of the TRE a year ago. And their TRE raised something like $31 or $30 million or so. And their projection for next year is another $32 million, I think, or something like that, but they're behind. So if San Antonio had not approved their TRE a year ago, they would not be looking at a $30 million deficit, they'd be looking at a $60 million deficit. So I'm also not here to suggest to you that a successful TRE solves all problems forever. It solves issues for now and the immediate future, but if enrollment keeps dropping in our district, we will continue to face some of these challenges moving forward.
Are there any other solutions?
I'm sorry?
Are there any other type of solutions that the district is looking for?
Well, part of the resolutions are offering new programs for parents to be able to, to stay here. What's causing some of this decline is the decline of enrollment. We need to introduce new options for parents in our community. Our board recently adopted what is called a theory of action. And the theory of action they adopted is a system of great schools. Our board is very supportive of introducing new programs and new ideas, and I think they understand that if we're going to keep our students, our parents, and our community coming to South San, South San needs to deliver the type of educational programs that they, the parents, are seeking. Somebody else, you already spoke, sir. Let me just get somebody else. There's a lot of people that want to speak. Listen. Like I said, the protocol, keep in mind, 3 minutes. Everyone talks at one time for 3 minutes. At the end, we'll dismiss people that want to leave. I'll stay here if you have more information for me. Yes, ma'am.
You said that the people that are 65, that it would affect them.
Not in reference to school district taxes. That is correct.
What about if they're disabled and they're not 65?
I believe, Jason, what are the rules there? I'm not sure I know the rules.
Disabled, I don't know that it's frozen. I think you get an exemption, but it's not frozen.
Yeah, we would have to research that for you. I really don't know the answer to that.
There hasn't been any Social Security raise.
Right.
And I myself, it only takes one of my checks that I get.
I see.
And then it's going to another one, another check.
Right.
Because the taxes are going higher. And I don't think people are getting raises.
Sure. If you would leave us your name and phone number, we will research this for you and we will get back with you and let you know. But I really don't know the answer.
We have a lot of people that are disabled.
Sure. Right. Somebody else. Daniel, come on up.
I just wanted to redirect some of the commentary you made earlier. So I think what the students were trying to express earlier was that, with the issues of violence on campus, unfortunately for a lot of folks in the community, we don't have to wait for somebody to come into the school and be done. A lot of our students are having to deal with violence already. And so looking to have programs that focus less on reaction and more on prevention. So mental health care screenings, making sure there's services for kids as far as violence prevention programs, intervention programs, and other kind of opportunities like that. Because I think when in the absence of resources like that, it makes situations that tend to escalate a lot more. And also as far as the security in the school, I know that first in the high school, I think we've done 6 or 7 drills this year. I feel very safe. We have a vice president Vice Principal Mr. Long does a really good job of like, training us and drilling us. So as far as safety is concerned, like I feel safe on my campus, but what I would like to see more of is more programs to support students with mental health and a lot of the other issues that have to do with it.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. What?
How you doing, sir?
Doing fine, sir.
Quick question, number ratio of officers to student, do you know that number?
No, sir, no.
For every one officer, we have 498 students today. Edgewood having 11,000 students has 24 full-time officers. Their ratio is 458. They are less per officer. So we actually have more students. If we go down to the 12 officers, with the numbers that you gave me, because the numbers from the last time, from the board meeting, with the TRE, if we go with board meeting, with 9 officers would be 996 students. With the TRE, 896. With your figures today, we're looking at 716 students per officer. We do not have a third shift anymore. We no longer have weekend. We have 2 guys on the evening. How important that evening shift is? Go back and ask for our report in February when a father came off the stands at basketball game, went and pushed one of our players down. It was only me with a gym full of people. No SAPD backup, no other officers. Very important to have your second shift because they clean up what we don't finish.
Sure.
Detective is right. I need detective. I turn in the best report to you and all my packets on time, but there's always additional work to be done. Now, just to let you know, I am a mental health officer. So students, I want to tell you, the only way we officers can prevent crime is you stand up and say that person is affecting that other person, hurting that person. We are proactive, but if the community doesn't tell us what's going on, we cannot do anything about it. We have to see it and we have to know it's there.
Yeah, some don't show.
Some of us don't show. I know it. And about the communities leaving, I can already tell you, with the amount of parents that are so upset, they're not leaving because of other programs. They're leaving because they don't believe the district is a safe place for them. I believe if you create a safe school, you will have more students.
But I think that's an opinion on your part, God. Unless you can show me some facts.
Because a lot of us parents have come to me and you've asked to come here. The other thing is, I have a suggestion. You have kids and sitting around doing nothing. We have Khan Academy. A couple of my kids are getting ready to go to Khan Academy, not the high school. We started a program for high school students, similar to Khan Academy, to bring in people from all over the county, and maybe we can increase our student population.
Actually, the district is working on that process right now. It's a good suggestion. We agree with you.
I need my lieutenant, I need my sergeant, and I need my investigator. Let me tell you, if one of these officers make a mistake, his freedom is in jeopardy. I'm going to tell you, if you take somebody's rights away, FBI will be here. We'll be serving time. If we do this job knowing that if we do make a mistake, we can possibly serve a long prison sentence. I'm not going to serve a long prison sentence. Every training I have goes free to the district, and I pay a lot of money for my training. I use my vacation. I use my own funds. In fact, I'm getting ready again in June to take another class, just so I can make sure my community is safe. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Can we go back to the CIS slide, please? My question is, how much does the district really embed in monetary-wise to these schools? Because I know that we also use the United Way to pay for that.
Sure. The district portion of CIS for next year would be $300,000.
Do you realize that they not only they have all kinds of agencies. We've had in our school, with previous schools, we've had embedded the fact that Girl Scouts, that's something that these people, it doesn't, a lot of people do not have the means to go put their kids in Girl Scouts. We've had also people from the college coming as tutoring, and they're coming to tutor our students. That's awesome, and that's also a benefit for us. And they also have agencies, like when a parent we're talking about mental illness and stuff, it starts in the elementary level too. And they have agencies, and they pull out agencies And they bring all these people, they bring the community with the cafecito and everything else. So there is a lot of programs that I know that.
I totally agree with you, totally agree with you.
And you know, I hate to see it go out because
Me
that
too.
is a very, very valuable resource.
It is.
Also, the resource over here, we have librarians. We teach academic reading. And that's what we're doing. We're teaching academic reading. Our librarians are teaching, they're embedding in the elementary school. They're embedding the love of reading for life. And that's when they go in and they feel more at ease because it's a different type of reading. It's not academic, it's not going to be tested or anything else. I think we need to value those things that we have. And I know we're talking about dollar signs.
We do value it.
But in general.
Let it finish, sir. Let it finish.
No, I am. Go ahead.
No, in general, I mean, we have to look at, okay, dollar signs, but we actually have to look at the value of what is going on with our children.
You're absolutely right. I totally agree. We agree on everything you said. Everything you said, I agree with you. So let me, we spoke to this area, right?
I spoke to that area, I spoke to also community schools.
But let me talk about this a little bit, because I didn't get a chance to talk about this.
Okay.
One of the things that we've done is empowered our principals to make decisions for their campuses. You know, when we first started the budget process, I think March, at one time we said, we're going to be reducing librarians to library aides, for example. That was a central office decision at that particular time. We have since backed off of that and said, we don't run the schools, our principals run the schools. Principals should decide what staff they want to keep and what staff they might want to reduce if necessary. These positions, if they get eliminated, are being recommended by different principals in different schools. But again, these are all positions, programs that with a successful TRE, in essence, principals don't pay anything with a successful TRE. But if not, then schools will have to give up a little bit. Elementary, I believe it's 55,000 is what they give up, you know? So different principals have told us, I want to keep this, but I don't necessarily want to keep this. So again, some of these decisions are being made where they should be made at the school level, at the campus level. Okay.
And then, so the campus level doesn't have any say-so in communities and schools.
Well, and I'll tell you why. The answer is no. That's been a district level response and recommendation because, again, the total amount for the community schools is about $300,000. All right. If a principal, for example, wants to keep it, I don't know honestly whether CIS would do a contract individually with the school. All right. I don't know that. And I can tell you, I'm a strong supporter of CIS, just like you are. Everything you said, I totally agree with.
I just like the fact that we're embedding the college students with our elementary students, and they're helping.
Absolutely. Yes.
And that's what we need to do. We need to,
we need to do more of
instead
that.
of being separated, we need to be united and work together and use the resources we have because we have excellent resources.
We do.
So that's
right.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Come on up. Here we go, CIS.
I'm not speaking on behalf of.
No, you can. You speak whatever you want.
For hosting this. I know you get a lot of questions. But I just, thank you so much for speaking up on our behalf. My question is for those that are not supportive of the TRE or a tax increase, what are their solutions for providing this extra income to help support our students? And I say our students because they are our students. We've been with the district for over 20 years. So, we love working here. But if the TRE doesn't pass, what solutions are they bringing to the table to provide these benefit programs to our students?
In a minute, I'll open the floor, but before you leave the mic, just so everyone else knows, I actually met with CIS this week with the CEO, Ms. Weaver. The discussion was a good discussion. We want to do everything we can for CIS to survive in this district. I believe you would agree that
yes.
the district, the board, the administration is very supportive of this program.
Yes, I think the proof is in the pudding, as
Right.
you said. We serve over 1,000 students on this district. We provide invaluable services down to mental health, providing our connections to the different universities, bringing in tutors and providing that academic support, enrichment activities that some of our students don't leave our neighborhoods. They're stuck in these neighborhoods. We take them out to open their minds to different horizons that are available to them. And our services are, I can't speak to them. again, you just look at the investment that you're making in our community. Right now, we're in only 10 schools, and I know there's other schools that would love to have us, but you do with what you can. But definitely, I would love to hear solutions. Just what's the other side of the story?
We'll open the floor in a minute for that. Somebody else, yes, we have a student.
Hello, my name is Anieli. What is the recommended ratio of police students in school based on research? Once again, based on research.
Okay. That's right. Just repeat the question.
Okay. What is the recommended ratio of police students in schools based on research?
The recommended ratio of students?
To police officers.
Oh, police officers? To my knowledge, there is no recommended ratio. To answer your question, I think that's what the question is?
Yes.
I'm not aware of what a recommended ratio would be. I'm aware of recommended ratio for counselors, recommended ratio for teachers, but honestly, I don't know. I don't know if our chief knows if there's a specific chief. Do you know there is a specific recommended ratio for school districts? Ratio officer per student?
There's no specific anything in writing,
There's nothing but
mostly what chiefs do when we have chiefs meetings, is we usually gather a ratio together and we determine about 500 to 1.
Okay, thank you. I don't believe that the data exists, the research exists. To answer your question. Yes, ma'am.
And I just had a little comment, like my opinion. Recently they said that y'all are mental health trained.
Use the mic. You're not gonna hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You can take it off and turn around if you want.
With my opinion on that, thank you for getting the training in the first place. It may help a lot of people. But I know in my neighborhood and a lot of kids, like as a kid at South San, a lot of kids, we don't trust the police officers. We don't, and it's, with everything that's going on with police brutality and everything, I wouldn't, me as a person who has a mental illness, I wouldn't want to open up and express myself to a police officer. That's just in my preference, and I know a lot of kids have that same preference. I don't want to open up my life to somebody who has not dealt with this before and does not come, I don't know how to explain it correctly, but an example is my baby cousin. He's only 7 years old, and every time he sees a police officer, he's afraid because of everything that's going on right now. So I'm just kind of expressing my opinion on that. Like, I would recommend, and I want a counselor to talk to. I want a social worker to talk to. I'm sorry, but I just wouldn't want to talk to this officer.
I'm going to answer your question.
Hold on, folks. Hold on. No, we can't have the back and forth. You know, everyone gets to express their opinion. She expressed her opinion. You can put it in writing and send it to me, but we're not going to get into this debate back and forth. I'm sorry. Somebody else that wants to say something. Yes. Well, you've already spoken. I'm sorry. Remember, I need to follow the rules. Somebody else. Yes, sir.
At the last board meeting, one of the representatives stated that no one had come to you with alternative solutions. Although it's how that's approached, how that process of beginning that conversation with community people is approached, that's been a challenge. For one, these are never in Spanish, or they're not always in Spanish. Right? They're not always in Spanish.
Oh, okay.
And so that does keep some people from wanting to come up and speak. Well, I've got a few things.
But actually, these meetings are always in Spanish. We have, look at that back there. We have mics.
I'm not done.
People
I'm not done with what I wanted to say. But okay,
go ahead.
I just really want to take. Yeah.
I pause it when he talks.
Okay.
So you still have.
But anyways, I'm talking about that specific meeting. It's the way that's approached when the person says, no one's come to us with solutions and anybody has a solution. Where is it? That's what I thought. That's the way it's phrased. It's that kind of attitude that keeps people away from it. Now, in addition to that, there are alternative solutions. There's creative solutions that school districts like Grapevine ISD and Grapevine, Texas are using to deal with their deficit because these are short-term solutions. You said it yourself. Short-term solutions that later in the future we'll have to look at again. It's like putting tape on something. Eventually that tape will fall off. But this doesn't solve the root issues, right? So in places like Grapevine, for example, they do have a printing press where they made $30,000 a year. by printing for the city, or changing to energy efficient light bulbs, which saved the district last year about $1 million. There are other solutions.
You're right.
But using the resources here and using what you have here as a community to come up with solutions requires a process that's very different than saying, come to me now and have a one-on-one meeting, or do it in this very intimidating way, because at the end of the day, all of you are in positions of power, and we're not. We have to deal with the consequences of your actions. So to tell us and phrase it in a way that if we don't pass this, we don't care about our students, that's not good. You're not willing to engage in a real conversation with the community and the people that are affected by these decisions.
So it looks like we're all kind of on the same page. We all want better resources for our students. We all want police officers to help protect our students. So it kind of saddens me when I see people who are against the TRE. I'm here with about 20 of my coworkers from Price Elementary. And we're in the trenches every day. We know what these kids are going through. We can identify kids who need help, who need counseling. Please reconsider passing. I don't know if I can say that. But reconsider, maybe you're against the TRE because, sorry, Dr. Saavedra, but maybe you don't like him. Okay, so, maybe you're unhappy for some reason, but we're in the trenches, we're here, all these teachers that are here from Price Elementary, we're there every day, we can identify kids, we need police officers, we need counselors, we need all these resources, communities in school for our kids. Please reconsider.
I'm gonna speak to this just briefly, because Ms. Ivana actually said something that's absolutely correct. This issue of whether different individuals agree with the actions of the superintendent or anybody else on my staff, at the end of the day, how will they make them leave this district? But the kids and the service of students stays behind. And anyone can attempt to defeat this TRE, that's really what you want to do. But actually, you're not defeating the superintendent. The penalty is for the children. And so, I will read this one because it's related to this. Someone said this, Mr. Saavedra, since we are looking to make cuts in all other departments, pay cuts and others even losing their jobs, such as our officers, would you accept to get a cut in your pay in this last year of your service? First of all, while my contract does run out next March, the board and I have not had discussions as to whether or not, they want to extend the contract, or whether even I want an extension of the contract. So that's kind of premature. So my point is this. This is about the students. It's not about me. You may not like the fact that last year I recommended the closure of schools. I understand that. But when I leave, and if a TRE gets defeated and programs get cut, again, I'm gone, and it's the children that get affected. So just keep that in mind. Let me open it up again. Hold on. Somebody else that needs to speak that hasn't spoken yet. Anybody? Come on up. Go ahead.
Okay. So I understand you said that cutting a portion out of your salary is premature. Do you mind going back to the slide about the cuts that you wanted?
The cuts?
Yes.
Tell me which one.
The one
This
about,
This
that
one?
one.
Okay.
Do you by chance have one that shows this type of cuts in the district or admin side? The district officers?
Yes, ma'am. Most of those clerical positions are in the central office. Most of those administration positions, 10, are in the central office. For maintenance custodial, it's district-wide, as you know. Really, the only thing that's specific right now in schools is the future positions that are being kept for nutrition. Everything else is
And is there like priority?
Are there priorities? At this point, these are the priorities at this point. And again, as I said earlier, that can change, At the end of the day, we need to be able to use about $2.9 million in order to simply downsize and operate Thank you. Rob?
For those that want this TRE to pass, there will be some issues that are still in doubt, at least in the minds of the people that I speak to. And some of these issues just can't get an eraser and wipe up the writing off the dry erase board.
Right.
It's a question of trust.
Okay.
And whether or not these issues have affected the trust in the community. Started with the master teacher's stipend, the closure of Athens Elementary and Hazen Middle School, a follow-up of the student bus transportation fiasco, the lack of complete buy-in by parents of the bilingual cluster program, the lowered financial rating called School First, the loss of student enrollment not only this year, up to 500 kids, and your projection for next year, another 500 kids. But the big question there is, why are these students leaving? And not just the charter schools, but other school districts. The other issue, we have received the lowest rating in special education. And then the last thing, and I'm glad you reconsidered, was the outsourcing of the food services program. And that 2.5 million in their general fund. On occasion, followed by occasion. This young man here asked probably the most important question of the evening. We've asked for a committee to be formed to assist you and the Board of Trustees in finding ways to address the deficit. I would submit to you that there are ways to address the deficit. Now, you've said on occasion, it's the board's decision. And you said, well, no, we're not going to do it. Or some other answer. But the real question here is there anyone here in this audience that holds all the cards to say, I have the only answer on how to address the deficit? I would submit the answer to that question is no.
Right.
Because I've gone around to different leaders, not only South San, but throughout the city, presented the dilemma that we're in, and we came up with a solution. So, no committee, so it leaves us with no other option other than to oppose it to your. Thank you.
Thank you. Somebody else that would like to, that has spoken yet. Okay. I think I've got a couple more cards. Why should we vote yes to a TRE if we still ended up closing our schools and the community wasn't heard? So now as a community, we will make sure we vote no for a TRE. We open Athens and we will vote yes. The other part I have is how can we do it? How can we do it to get our school back open at Athens Elementary? Okay. So, I do believe that the community, South San in general, we're at a crossroads. And I guess community members will need to decide where they get their information to be listened to. You know, it may be the administration, maybe the school district, maybe others. It's entirely up to you. But we are at a crossroads. Frankly, we're at a crossroads because there's two major elections going on this year for South San most likely. One, hopefully, will be a TRE, and then there's an election for board members. I think 4 board seats are up in November. You can decide as a community whether this is the better district today than it was 4.5 years ago. And if it's not, then you know what to do in reference to making changes. If it is a better school system today, then you also know what you need to do to help improve this school system. Thank you for being here this evening. I hope you have a safe trip home. And send us emails, send us any information, attend our board meetings. These discussions will continue. Thank you.